What up, y'all? It's Hazy, back with another video. And today, the fishing's slow. I mean, it's only 10 a.m., but I've caught one fish, been out here for 4 hours, and topwater bite was not what I wanted it to be. I missed a couple fish, and so I figured it was a good time to just sit down and make a video for y'all. So today we're going to be talking about rods and reels, and how many I'm taking out in the boat with me, why I take that many, and what they're all used for. So we're just going to dive right in. Rod number one, this is one of my favorite setups. This is a Dobyns Fury series rod, medium heavy action, 7'3" rod, and I've got it set up for pitching and flipping. I've got it paired with a Shimano Curado 200K, and that's probably one of my favorite reels ever that I've ever used. It's just so well put together, great quality reel. You're definitely getting your money's worth. You know, it's $180 or something like that, but after trying a ton of reels on the market, like, this is a great reel. Just this specific Curado, this 200K, is an amazing reel. So they're 2 or 3 years old now, but go get you one. They're a great reel. I've got a 3/4 ounce weight on here, and I know this is a medium heavy, but feels like a decently heavy stick, you know. So it's great for pitching for me. I like it. I think if I went up on the weight any more than 3/4 ounce, I'd have to start using a heavy action rod. But for what I'm using it for, it's working for me. I will also throw a heavier swim bait on this. I'll throw a big topwater on this, and a frog. There's a lot of things you can throw on a heavier medium heavy. So right now in May, June, actually now, I've got it set up for flipping. So that's rod number one. Rod number two is a Ducket 7.6 medium heavy Ghost series rod. This is a very interesting rod. It's my longest rod, a 7.6, but it's very flexible. The tip has a ton of action in it. So I've ended up pretty much using it for treble hooked baits. So I'll throw, if I have mono line on, I'll throw topwater, but right now I have fluoro on here, and so I've got it set up for cranking. I tried throwing this 12-15 foot diver down today and just wasn't getting any action, but this is one of my favorite setups. Just the rod just loads up. It's so long and it's not too whippy, so you can just sling a crankbait as far as you could. It's perfect for that application. And I've got it paired up with a Lew's Super Duty, I believe is just the model name on this one. But it's like a 300 or 250 size spool, so it holds a lot of line, and it's also a 5:1 gear ratio. This is one of the most recent reels that I've purchased, and it's up there in that 180 price range as well. And you find that once you get up into that level, you get some really great quality out of your reels. I put this in my dad's hand the other day. I said, you gotta cast this. Like, tell me this reel isn't like just absolutely amazing. And he felt the same way. It's a pretty sick reel, and it's perfect for bombing these crankbaits out there. And that 5:1 gear ratio lets me vary my retrieve speed. So if I'm cranking it at a normal pace, it's going pretty slow actually, which is nice. And then I can speed it up real fast, just depending upon how hard I want to crank it. So this is an amazing cranking setup. I definitely recommend, if you're looking for a cranking rod, get something with some flex, some good tip flex, even some backbone flex, back into here. But also it's a broomstick from that bottom guide down. There's no flex in that. So it's just an all-around, it's got the perfect bend for cranking. This is 7.6 medium heavy. Rod number 3, and I gotta say, I think this is my favorite rod without a doubt. This is a 7-foot medium heavy Loomis GLX, and I had a much older version of this. There's a video on my channel about it, but I broke it, and so I get on and look at Loomis's website, and they do basically like no questions asked, warranty, repairs, but you pay like $125 to get the rod, but it's a $500 rod, so it's understandable. So I inherited that rod from my grandfather, broke it, and paid the fee to get a new one, and this new one is absolutely amazing. One of the first days I realized how much I loved this rod. I was slow rolling, probably a half 3/8 ounce spinnerbait around at Possum Kingdom in Texas around all this buckbrush, and I caught about 9 fish that day, all on this rod, and it's so good for those light pitches around into the buckbrush, into the reeds, into the whatever you're aiming at. It's just great for roll casting. This rod is super light, it's super balanced, and it's perfect for those chatterbaits and spinnerbaits, in my opinion. I've got this paired up with a Chronarch, Shimano Chronarch. I've had some issues with this reel. I think, partially my fault. I had it serviced and it's doing a lot better. But this is an 8-1-to-1. I'm not a huge fan of 8-1-to-1s. I've got one on the that Curado's an 8-1-to-1, and they're just super fast, and so I have to consciously think about being really slow with this reel. So I've been thinking about putting this on another flipping type setup, something else that I would want that 8-1-to-1 gear ratio for, but for right now it feels great casting on this rod, and this reel itself is super light and makes the overall rod and reel combo super light. So that's rod number 3. Those are some of my main throwing bait casters right there. Like, those have gotten a lot of time in, caught a lot of fish, and probably some of my, just overall nicest setups. So we're gonna move on to rod number 4. This is another Ducket Ghost series. It's a 7'3" heavy. It's an interesting stick. It's it's a broomstick all the way down to about there, and then it's got a pretty good tip. So you've got some flex there. I've thrown a ton of different things on this, and I still don't know exactly what I like using it for the most. I just put this reel on it the other day, and I'm liking the setup now, how I have it, probably more than any other way that I've had it. But I have thrown Alabama rigs on this. You can see today I was throwing a Whopper Plopper. I might actually start kind of making this one my flipping stick and using that Dobbins for, other things. But for right now, I use it for heavy baits, anything that's too heavy for any of my medium heavies. And I've got it paired up with a older Daiwa Fuego. I say older, it's 3-4 years old, but it's the older model. The new Fuegos don't really look like this. And this is a great reel. It's a 200 size spool, so it's kind of big. 3-to-1 gear ratio, just kind of, it's fast, but it's not too fast. So overall, this is a great setup for just heavy baits, pretty much anything. But right now it's great for big topwaters. Let's do a spinning reel real quick, because this is my bread and butter right here. This exact setup. So we got another G Loomis rod that I inherited from my grandfather and broke and replaced. So this is a newer model of it. Looks super dirty, but it's a 6-foot mag light, extra fast action. So I think the deal with the mag light is that it's made for bass, but it's not like a panfish light kind of rod. So it's great for wacky rigging. Honestly, it's just freaking perfect. Like, I can pitch a wacky rig all day with this thing. Can cast it a mile. You know, this this setup is just perfect. I can't. I don't know. It probably should be longer. I do lose a lot of fish on this exact setup, but it's just so great to throw, and I've caught a lot of fish on this setup as well. I think I've got this Shimano Sienna 2500. Something just busted in the reeds right next to me. I've got this Shimano Sienna 2500 spooled up with probably 20 or 15 pound braid maybe to a 10 pound leader, and it's what I throw just about anything finesse on. I'll put a drop shot on this, I'll put wacky rig, just, you know, Texas rigged, weightless, you know, a lot of different things on this, and it's caught some of my biggest fish ever. So if you're scared of getting a little 6-foot rod, don't be, because this is my favorite setup. I am not a big fan of my 7-foot, you know, medium spinning rod. So I use this one more than my other spinning rod, and I love it. Definitely recommend 6-foot mag light, and that's a G Loomis IMX. Let's look at this ugly piece of crap. This is an old ass rod. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's, you know, it's old, and I think it's like the old Academy brand or something stupid. So anyhow, I just put some new rod wrap on it the other day because it was nasty, and I just wanted another rod in the boat, and so I put this Caius on it, Shimano Caius. Also a pretty shitty reel, not my favorite. I would like to upgrade and not use this reel anymore. That's kind of my plan. So that's why it's on the shittiest rod in my boat, and just got it, you know, with some braid. It's just kind of like an extra topwater rod for the mornings. This is my bread and butter fluking or weightless plastic rod. So I picked this up just kind of on a whim at Academy one day. It's a Falcon HD, super cheap. It was like $80. $80 for a 6.6 medium action rod. So 6.6, you know, a lot shorter than most rods, that all of my other rods, except for that spinning one. And you know, it's just perfect for what I use it for. Like, I've got it paired up with this. I wonder if y'all saw what that was in the background. I've got it paired up with this Lew's laser speed spool, SLP, whatever. They got all these names. It's their $99 price point reel, and it's an amazing reel for that price point. I've made a video about it. I think it's better than a ton of other reels on the market that cost more than it. So 10 bearings in this thing, amazing reel, love it. So if you do not know what reel to get and you just need a bass fishing reel, and like, if $99 is the price point that you can afford, 100% go buy this Lew's. Don't buy anything else in that price point. Don't buy anything in the $120 to $130 either. Just buy the $99 Lew's laser speed spool. It's freaking amazing. I think this one's a 7-1-1 or 7-3-1 or something like that. 7-5-1, so it's pretty fast, but I'm sure they got other gear ratios as well. It's overall a very light setup, and I've got it paired up with some 15-pound mono. The reason for that, a little pro tip, is that if you want to fish your fluke up in the top of the water column, you don't want to use fluoro, or it's just going to start diving way quicker than you can keep it up there. So mono's a good way to keep it in that first like 2 foot of water where you can still see it. Man, they're up in there deep. I don't know how to catch these fish on this lake. But great fluking stick. Definitely recommend get yourself a little bit shorter medium action rod for fluking if that's something you enjoy doing. Also pretty great for a weightless Senko. Now this rod, this one right now has got to be one of my favorites. I don't know why I didn't do this one first. This is a Dobbin Sierra series rod. I bought it, like a year ago. I think I sold a rod and then went and bought this on Tackle Warehouse. It's a 7-foot medium heavy and just super light rod. Like, Dobbins is doing that right, for a 7-foot medium heavy. Like, it just doesn't feel that heavy of a rod at all. And I've got a frog on here. I know people always like throw a frog on a 7.6 heavy, extra heavy. Like, I don't like it. Like, I don't like big, huge rods. Like, I just don't. My 7.6 medium is a hassle to get in and out of my truck, So I don't really have any long, heavy rods. I typically cap out at that 7.3. So this 7-foot medium heavy, enough for a frog to me. I got braid on here, and it's running just fine with that 55-pound braid. People tell you gotta freaking fish a frog with 80-pound braid on a blah blah blah. It's not, you don't have to, so don't listen to them. Whatever's comfortable for you, throw it. As long as you're getting good hook sets. I freaking slammed 2 fish on this exact setup yesterday, this exact frog on this exact rod and reel, and just great hook set, boat flipped them. You don't need a heavy action rod. So I've got this paired up with my brand new Daiwa Tatula, my first Tatula. It's a 7-1-1 gear ratio. It's got that T-wing, line guide system. And that's the first Daiwa reel that I've had that's had that. My Fuego does not have it. And so that's pretty cool. It just freaking casts great. I threw a buzzbait on it the other day at this lake and just threw it for like 3 hours straight and enjoyed the heck out of it. Like, it was just easy to throw, easy to roll cast. What other rod? Oh yeah, this rod is a lot like that Loomis GLX, the other 7-foot medium heavy. So if you're comparing 2 7-foot medium heavies and 2 different price points, I believe this one was the $180 price point, and that Loomis is like $450. The Loomis is better. I'm still saying it's better, 100%, but it's not that much better. It's not $300 better than this rod. So if you don't feel like going over $200 on any rods, which I never do, this is probably the most expensive rod I've bought on my own in 3-4 years. So great rod, definitely recommend. Just Dobbins as a whole, now that I've tried their Fury and Sierra series, I love both of my rods. They feel strong, good sensitivity, and yeah, definitely recommend. Alright, we got another spinning setup. This one is a 7-foot medium. and I think I bought it either in the store or online, but it just was a little heavier than what I wanted. So I use it for heavy finesse stuff. So this is a really heavy shaky head actually, but it casts great. It's just not, I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of this exact rod. Some people might enjoy it for like swim baiting, little swim baits, you know, stuff like that. But I'm just not a huge fan. It stays in the box a lot and doesn't get a ton of use. What it is good for is handing it off to people that don't know how to cast bait casters, because I can put a crankbait on this, or you know, something they can just reel in, and they'll be fine. You know, it's enough backbone in this that you can do a lot of applications. You could throw a Senko, you can throw a lot of things on this. I do really like this reel. It's Lew's laser speed spool, blah blah blah, speed spin, I don't know, 3,300 series, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's a great little reel. It's like 40 bucks. Definitely recommend it for that price point. Not bad. I recommend just the rod blank in general. Like, you know, it's a good rod, but just not, I don't like it for my type of fishing. So is what it is. So that one I believe was number 9. So number 10 is another treble hook rod, specifically meant for crankbaits. It might be fiberglass, honestly, I'm not sure. It's a G Loomis Cranking Rod. Like, it's a crankbait series rod, medium light 7 foot. So very, very, very fast tip on this rod, and honestly, it's got bend all the way into the back. Loads up really good. Caught like a, you know, like a 5-6 pounder on a square bill one time on this rod, and it was super fun. I've caught, you know, a lot of fish on the rod, and it just, you don't lose a lot of fish, because if you're fishing it with crankbaits, treble hooked baits, the whole point of having that much flex or having a fiberglass rod is that it just loads up more, and so it keeps tension even when you struggle to keep the tension. And so I don't lose a lot of fish on this. It's one of the types of rods that I would like to net the fish. Usually I don't typically boat flip them on this, but definitely recommend it for what I use it for. I'll put mono on this and throw a popper a lot of the time, but it's also great for, you know, DT6s or square bills, in my opinion. I don't throw a big crankbait on this ever. The butt of the rod is just not very long. You know, it's a much older rod, another one I inherited, and so the butt stocks have gotten longer on modern rods, and it gives you just way more, you know, casting action. And so this is good for those short square bill casts and stuff like that. But yeah, another great rod. I should probably mention the reel too. I made a video on this reel. It's a Shimano Curado 200E7. I bought this reel used, and it was just in great condition. It's like from 2007 or 4 or something like that. It's an old model of Curados, but it's one of the most trusted models of Curados. And so I was actually shopping for one. It's a reel that once I, you know, keep upgrading, this one will stay on my shelf for forever, because it's just a really pretty reel, and very functional, 200 sized, great for cranking. Yeah, I don't actually love the old knobs that much, but it's a good setup for what it is. I just, you know, it's funny that these are both really old, you know, pieces of equipment, but come 2020 I'm still using it, and it's still very effective. So don't be afraid of old gear, you know. You find the right stuff, it can be worthwhile. So I want to end this video on I guess my takeaway from the month of May in 2020, I live in Oklahoma. I fished pretty much only in Oklahoma this month. Probably fished 8 times, and mostly out of this boat. I've been going out every day that I go. I try and get on the water by 6 a.m. before 7 at the latest, because I'm catching, 5 to 10 fish most mornings in between 6 to 8 a.m. On topwater. And so I'm going out with 2 or 3 different topwaters most mornings, rotating them in different areas and just finding what works and sticking to it, because a lot of times topwater, you just got to find your confidence in it that day. And once you know that they will bite that bait, like you got one fish to bite on it, just keep throwing it until 8 o'clock if the skies are bluebird like today. Or, if it's cloudy and rainy, throw that thing all day long. Because I've been getting bit in the month of May. Summer's rolling around. Today's June 3rd, I believe. And it's getting tougher, I had to shut off the topwater around 8 a.m. today. It was not happening. And it is what it is. But that's something I want to share with y'all. If you're not throwing topwater, give it a go, because it's produced my bigger bites 100%. I'm not getting huge bites on soft plastics throughout the rest of the day. So if you're not getting big bites, well, yo, my camera timed out on me. I think I was talking about catching some big fish on topwater. Average size on topwater is going to be better than average size on a wacky rig, 100%, in my experience. So I love throwing it. If you don't have confidence in it, try it out. It's the time to be throwing it. So also, I want to tell you my one recommendation. If you are on the market, getting into fishing, trying to find some rods, start with a medium heavy. It's an all-around action that you can use for a lot of things. I would say if I was to only take one rod out with me, it would be that Loomis 7-foot medium heavy GLX, or the Dobbin Sierra 7-foot medium heavy. It would be one of those two. Same length and action. It's so versatile. You can use it for Texas rigs, moving baits, spinner baits, shatter baits, crank baits, and even slow soft plastics, that are pretty light. Like I could throw a fluke on it if I wanted to. So there's a lot of applications that you can do with a medium heavy. So if you don't know what to get, definitely recommend getting a 7-foot medium heavy, up to about a 7.3 or 7.6 if you feel comfortable with that. I think length is more preference than functionality, I guess. So that's my recommendation for you. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you thank you for watching this video if you stuck it out all the way through. Hopefully I gave you some ideas or tips or something that you might not have known about rods and reels for bass fishing. I feel like I've got a pretty good, setup of different application rods. Something I would say I'm missing would probably be like a 7.6 heavy, but I don't really want one. I would kind of like to get a long 8-foot swim bait rod, just because people say that's what you're supposed to throw swim baits on, but I've never tried it, so I don't know how great those are. But honestly, I just like adding medium heavies to the arsenal, because you can just put another bait on it, and it's less stuff you have to tie on every day you go out. I like to just be able to switch, and not have to use my tackle boxes that much when I'm out on the boat. That's an ideal day to me. I spend a lot of time in my garage just in the evenings during the week getting ready for these days of fishing, and that's why I have 10 rods, is because they're ready to go when I get out there on the water, and it just takes less time away from fishing. So that's my arsenal. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hazy, out.